guys, it's Jess from Peace Out Books, and today I'm here with my March wrap up. I read 27 books this month and I finished one today. It's April 1st. I finished the end of an audiobook today, so I read a lot of books in the month of March and I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. It is gonna be a long video. I apologize. I've done a lot of videos for these books, a lot of reading vlogs, so I'll link all those down below. And I'm just gonna get to my books. The first one I was sent an ARC from the publisher. I also have a reading vlog, and that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This one is massive. I read so many massive books this month, and this one is over 560 pages, and it is the new book and the new series of a spin-off of the Shadowhunter books, and this one specifically takes place a bit after the Infernal Devices series, which is my favorite, so I really love this, and I give it 5 stars. I can't really say too much about it. I'll link the vlog down below if you want to watch more of it, but I love the characters, I love the romances, and I'm really excited to see book 2 in this series. The next couple books I read for BookTube's Worst Books of 2019, so I did read In the Unlikely Event by LJ Shen, and I gave this 2 stars. I know people didn't like it. I wasn't even going to pick it up, but I decided to pick it up for this video. It is about a girl whose dad passes away, and she never really knew him, and he was an Irish musician and lived in Ireland, and so she decides to go to Ireland and sees this guy, and like they make a deal that if they see each other organically, so they don't plan it, and they're both single, and then they're gonna get married. And so then we flash forward to today and they run into each other, and then she has to work with him because she is a photographer and he is a musician, so she needs to like photograph his new album, and it was awful. I hated all the characters, I hated everything that happened, and I would not recommend reading it. Then for that video I also read The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. This one is a thriller, and it's about a woman who has agoraphobia, so she can't go outside. And isn't that agoraphobia? I think that's what that is, right? But she is terrified of going outside because of something that happened in her past, and she sees a murder happen in the house across the street, and she's trying to figure out what happened, and nobody believes her. So it was really good. The twist at the end I really enjoyed, and the beginning was a bit slow, I will say that, but then it picked up, so I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was a decent thriller. I mean, I was entertained the whole time, and like I said, the ending was really surprising, so I enjoyed it. Next, I listened to the audio of Let's Get Textual by Tegan Hunter, and this is about a woman who gets a text from a number, and she assumes it's her brother because she thinks he changed his number, and they were supposed to meet for dinner, and so then they like talk about the dinner plans, and then she figures out it's not her brother, it's someone with the wrong number, and they start texting each other and have this like flirty little banter going on, and then they decide to meet each other, but they're scared to meet each other, and this was so fun. I really loved the audio. Their banter is just so engaging and fun to watch, and I really enjoyed how they were both insecure about the fact that they were texting each other and didn't know if they would like each other in real life. They liked each other's personalities, but they're like, well, we actually like click in real life. There was a baby goat in here, which was so fun. I really adored this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, a really high 4 out of 5 stars. The audio I would definitely recommend, and I can't wait to finish the rest of the series. Then I read my second favorite book of the month. It was going to be my first one, but then last week I read something that bumped it out of the way. But that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast fantasy retelling, and it is about a girl who's from present day, and then she gets kind of kidnapped, I guess, to this fantasy world where there's this prince, and he has to fall in love for his kingdom to like become good again, become like not cursed anymore, and he has gone through like hundreds of women, and every year if the woman doesn't fall in love with him, the time like resets, so everything has been resetting, and it is her turn to see if she'll fall in love with him, and she immediately is like, I hate you, take me home, because she left a really bad situation for her brother to be in, and her mom's dying, so she really wants to go home. But I absolutely loved everything about this. I love the romance. It was so cute. I really liked the bodyguard, like he's not really a bodyguard, he's a soldier that was left with the prince. He's my favorite, and he has the next book, which I'm really excited for, and I love the fantasy world, especially because like she was learning about it with us because she was from the normal world, and it was really good. I really liked it. 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to read book 2. Then I listened to Ravage Me by Ryan Michelle. This is book 1 in a motorcycle romance series. I don't remember what the series is called. It might be the Ravage series. And our main character, she is named Princess. I think it's her grandfather that has a really high up position in the motorcycle club. I don't remember. And she has just spent 2 years in prison for something she didn't do. And so she had a really, really rough time in prison, but she has been released and she has sworn off any MC guys. She doesn't want to date anybody in the club because she knows how what a sticky situation that is when they have to be loyal to the club and won't be able to be loyal to her, kind of thing. And her brother's part of the club, and then she ends up meeting a guy that she's really attracted to, and he ends up being in the club, and it's their romance. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really good motorcycle romance. She has a pretty prominent role in the club because everyone knows her, and she did some stuff for the club while she was in jail, and she gets into some bad situations. The person who got her into jail might still be out for her, and the guy that she ends up falling for has a son who is adorable, and it was a little bit insta-lovey. I wasn't a big fan of that aspect, but I really enjoyed it overall, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is book 3 in the Heir of Folk series. I never know what it's called. I think it's the Heir of Folk series and Folk. I don't know. But this one is, like I said, book 3. We have Jude and Carden and stuff happening in book 2. I don't want to spoil it, but Jude is a human living in the Fae world and Carden is a Fae prince. That's why it's the Cruel Prince. He was very cruel to her in book 1, and then we have a lot of politics and political intrigue going on. And I was very disappointed in this. I feel like nothing really happened, and Carden's character was nothing at all like he was in books 1 and 2. He just flipped a switch and was like totally different person from what we all enjoyed him being in the previous books. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and everything just seemed kind of too easy and like lackluster in my opinion. Nothing like huge happened for a finale of a series, and I was just left disappointed. Another disappointing read was The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. This one I got from the publisher, and it is a assistant to a home renovation couple, and they're like kind of like the Gaines couple, but in this world they look like the perfect couple, but they actually hate each other. And our main character has been the assistant since she was like 16, so she's worked with them for a very long time, and it's a romance between her and the husband's assistant, and so he's pretty new, the new assistant, but there isn't really a lot of attraction between them in the beginning. But then they go on a book tour with the couple, and they have to hide the fact that the husband has actually been cheating on his wife, and they have to make sure that they don't show everybody that they hate each other. So it was fine. It was just boring, and it was slow, and I didn't really buy the romance, and the ending was weird in my opinion. It kind of like wrapped up really quickly, and I wasn't a fan of that, and so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Not my favorite from Christina Lauren, unfortunately. Then on audio, I listened to The Truth About Lies by Ali Martinez. This is book 1 in the duet, and I'm not picking up book 2. This is about a girl who pretty much runs a prostitute house, and she used to be married to someone who was related to the guys who like own all the prostitutes, the brothel I guess, and she has 2 young teenagers living with her that she really takes care of, and she takes care of all the girls that live in the apartment complex, I guess you would call it. And this guy ends up being the new maintenance worker, and they have an instant attraction. They kind of fall for each other. I was just like really bored throughout this whole thing. I didn't know why I was supposed to care about any of the characters, and only things started happening at the end, and then I feel like the ending was thrown in there so that we would read book 2 because it ended on a cliffhanger. So I wasn't a fan. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I probably will not pick up the second one. I definitely want to read other Ali Martinez series, just I wasn't a fan of this one. Then I read My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I was sent this from the publisher. I wasn't planning on reading this until the publisher sent it to me, and then I read the synopsis, and it is about a girl who ends up in a relationship with her teacher when she is at a private high school. And I'm a teacher myself, so I am always wary going into those kind of books, and this one touches on the subject in a very realistic, not gruesome, but like it's all out there. It's like, this is what happens when a sick, perverted man decides to groom and play with the emotions of a young teenager. And so she is definitely groomed into it. She is made to seem like she wants it. Like, he keeps on asking permission, and she's like, oh yeah. He's like, you want it, right? And like, no, but she doesn't know how to say no. And so it's very interesting. goes back and forth between when she is kind of starting this relationship with this teacher when she's a teenager, and in the future when there's another girl who was sexually assaulted by this teacher who wants her to speak up about it, and there are multiple girls since her that have had relationships with this teacher, and it shows you the lasting effects of a student-teacher relationship and how that really emotionally affects someone and their future, and it was very interesting. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. It's not like I liked reading it, I just couldn't stop reading it. So 4 to 5 stars. It was a very interesting book that I don't normally read, but I did enjoy reading this book. Then I read The Sinner by J.R. Ward, which I was sent from the publisher, and I already have a book review of this on my channel, so I'll link it down below. I gave this 4 to 5 stars. This is the Destroyer prophecy coming to fruition, so it had a ton of Butch in it, who's one of my favorite brothers, so I enjoyed that aspect. I do wish we had more of the other brothers. This is vampires, by the way. We have the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and this is like book 18 in the series, so it's been a while, and we've had this Destroyer prophecy for quite a while, and we have a new villain who finally is like, hey, I'm here to be the villain. And I feel like we've been waiting for her for 3 books now, so I feel like that was drawn out. I liked Joe and Sin, who are the main couple in here, so I like this better than The Savior, but it's still not my favorite of what I used to love in this series, but still 4 out of 5 stars. Then I decided to pick up the ebook of Danger Zone by Brooke Blaine, and I believe there's a second author. I don't remember, but they will be here. And this one is a kind of Top Gun MM romance. So our 2 main characters, there's the one guy who's kind of like Maverick, from Top Gun. He's just like the hot shot and is so cocky and full of himself and does what he wants and like pulls pranks and stuff. And then we have the super serious pilot whose dad is actually like a huge superstar pilot, and so he's very serious and he's in the closet. I think they both technically are. I don't remember if the other guy is out, but the super serious one, he definitely doesn't like advertise that he's gay. I think his best friend knows, and the book starts out at a gay bar and they meet and they're like, oh, we have like an instant attraction, but they don't do anything. And so then they realize when they get to their first day of training, hey, like, look, this is the guy that I met at the bar the other night, and then they end up being partners and next door neighbors. And so I liked it, but I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars because I feel like the guy who was like the cocky playboy kind of guy was way too pushy on the other guy, and like if that were the situation where he was advancing like that on a girl, it would be totally not okay. And so I feel like it still shouldn't be okay if he does that on another guy. It was just like he would not take no for an answer, and there wasn't any like consent issues because it wasn't like he was forcing himself on him, but he kept on like pushing him and like talking to him about it and like doing stuff to like tell him that he liked him, even though he's like, dude, back off. So it was okay. And then I feel like the ending was just like, again, something that made us want to pick up the next book and like didn't actually feel like it should have been part of the story. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I probably won't continue on with the series. Then the historical romance readathon started, which I have a reading vlog for, which is down below. And I first picked up The Duchess Seal by Tessa Dare. This is book 1 in the Girl Meets the Duke series. I read book 3 and loved it last year. I love this book so much. Our main character is a seamstress, and so she makes the wedding dress for this woman who's about to marry a duke, and she doesn't pay for it, so she wears the wedding dress to the duke's house and is like, hey, you need to buy this because I worked on it and I was supposed to get a lot of like attention from it, advertisement from making this like outrageous wedding dress for your future wife. And the guy's like, oh yeah, no, that's not happening anymore. And then they decide to get married, and this is just so hilarious. There are just little jokes here and there. She tries to continuously make up fun nicknames for him, and he's like, no. But she tries to do it the whole book, and it's super cute and adorable. I love the romance so much. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to read more by Tessa Dare. Then I listened to the audio If I Only Had a Duke by Lenora Bell. This one's about a woman who is in a house, I think it's her aunt's house in Ireland, and she notices in the next house next door, I don't know how she got there, that there's a bunch of paintings there and she loves them, and they're from a famous female painter, and she's like, I need to study these, like they're from, I think they're self-portraits or something from this famous artist. And so she keeps on writing this Duke letters. He's like, hey, stop going my stuff, no. And then she meets him at a ball, and then he decides to dance with her so that she ends ends up having attention from everybody else and won't bother him. And she's like, I don't want attention, I don't want to get married, I want to live in Ireland with my aunt and live out my life there because I don't want to be a wife and do all that stuff. And so then it's their romance. It's super cute. I believe he like takes her to Ireland, yeah, and she has to like make up a lie to say like he ruined her and that's why she's going to not get married. And so it's a really fun, adorable romance. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I love Lenore Bell. I would really recommend this series. Then I read an e-arc of Old Fashioned by Candy Steiner. This is book 4 in the Becker Brothers series. I believe the whole series is now on Audible Escape, which is super exciting. And this is a small town romance, and this one's about the high school football coach, and his name's Jordan. He is the oldest Becker. It's with the new athletic trainer on the football team. She is newly divorced, has like a 9-year-old daughter, and she just wants to prove herself, and because she had to give up her career to be with her husband, and he was pretty abusive towards her, so she left. But she still is living in the town with him. He's a sheriff. That's why she could leave him, because her daughter was still there and like he could still have rights with the daughter. He still kind of like has a hold over her, and so she isn't very trusting, but her and Jordan kind of hit it off. It's super cute, and they have a romance, and then Jordan ends up helping her daughter with football because her daughter wants to be a football player, and it was really fun. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I did not like the whole mystery aspect throughout the whole book series. There was like what happened to their dad, who died in a mysterious fire at the distillery that a lot of the brothers work at, that the dad worked at. I'm not a fan of that in a romance series, and so when it came to light in this book at the end, it felt very soap opera-y and dramatic to me, and I could have done without that, so I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Hearts of Flame by Joanna Lindsey. I was very nervous. This is my first Joanna Lindsey, and I've never read a book by her, so I didn't know what to expect, and I loved it so much. Now, it does start out with a situation where the guy almost tries to take advantage of the woman, and I'm like, is this really our romance? But it's not. He's not the hero, so don't worry, and this is a lot of fun. So our main character is a Viking, and her parents and her brother are like famous Vikings, and so she decides to smuggle herself aboard one of their boats because she thinks they're going to the market. She just wants to experience life and meet a man because she's not attracted to anybody in their hometown, and they're not going to the market. They're actually going on a raid, and they lied to their dad about it, and so she ends up being stuck in the middle of this raid, and they get demolished basically, and so she's kidnapped with a bunch of the guys who didn't die, and then she's disguised as a boy, but then they figure out she's a girl, and so the lord of the whole place that they get they tried to attack that they get kidnapped in, is she like serves him now, and it's their romance, and so it's very, very cute. She's like, oh my god, why am I finally attracted to someone, and he's like the enemy. It was so fun. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved it. I already ordered book 1 in the series, which is her parents' story, and I cannot wait to read it. Then I listened to the audio of Destiny's Embrace by Beverly Jenkins. This one is book 1 in the series. It is about a woman who grew up in a like seamstress shop for her mom, and she designs clothes that her mom then sells the designs for, and she like pretty much runs the shop, but her mother is very abusive and controls her, and so she decides to leave, and her mother's very angry, but she can't do anything about it, so she leaves and takes the position of like a maid for this guy whose mom put out the ad for him, and he is, I forget what he does. I don't remember what his job is, but they instantly butt heads. She's really trying to like take her job seriously and clean his house and like tell him what to do right, and they argue all the time, and she grows really close with his mom who hired her, and they end up having a romance, her and the guy, and it's really, really cute. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a little slow at times, but I really loved it. She's black, and he is half black, and I believe he's half black, unless he's black? No, because he's the adopted son. It's his stepmother, because his dad married her, and then she had a bunch of kids with his dad, and she was Spanish, and his dad is black. The narrator was doing like an African accent for the mom, and she is not African, so that kind of bothered me, but other than that, it was a really fun audiobook, and I enjoyed the book. Then I finally picked up Beyond the Highland Mist by Karen Marie Moning. This is a time-traveling Highlander romance, and this was not what I was expecting. Our main character is from Seattle in modern times, and it's pretty much Midsummer Night's Dream, so we have these fairy king and queen who are kind of fighting because there's this really hot Highlander that's like caught the eye of the queen, and so the fairy Puck character basically from Midsummer Night's Dream, he ends up kidnapping a girl to like not like him. So it's got to be a girl who hates attractive men and will never fall for them. So he finds her, she has been burned in her past and was like, I hate attractive men. So he ends up kidnapping her so that she falls into his path, and he wants her, but she says no, and so it's their romance. It was good. I feel like she did not do enough to try to leave, like, realistically, but it was a really fun romance. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was just not what I was expecting, because it did have, like, the Puck character throughout the whole book. He was part of it, so he was like watching over them and trying to like sabotage them and stuff. So definitely more whimsical than I thought it would be, but I still really enjoyed it. Then I read the ebook of Ruthless People by J.J. McAvoy, I don't know how to say her last name, but this one was the pick what I read next for March, and it is a mafia romance, and we have a woman who is pretty much a mafia queen. She took over the company for her dad because her dad's dying, and nobody really knows she's the face of it, and she's betrothed to like one of their kind of enemies, but they need to have like an alliance, and so she gets betrothed to the guy who's gonna take over his dad's business, and they end up kind of having this weird ruling relationship together. So they get married, and it's super angsty and like hate-filled, raw, passionate kind of marriage, and I thought it was a little dramatic. Like, okay, it's a mafia romance, so it's gonna be dramatic, but she was very bloodthirsty, and so was he. They're like, oh, we're just ruthless people, which is like, okay, I get that, it's the title, haha. But they like killed a ton of people, and like would talk about like killing cops and killing cops' families, and I'm just like, I don't like that. Like, I'm fine with like blood and gore and stuff, but when you get to them like enjoying being sadistic like that, I'm not that big of a fan, because it just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. And so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was like, it was just like way too over the top and way too long. This was like 500 pages. I don't remember how long it was. It was way, way, way too long. But I didn't really enjoy it as much, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I finally finished the ebook of The Cruel Fae King Prince. The Cruel Fae King by A.K. Kuntz and someone else, I think. The cover's here. I started this months ago and then never finished it. And it is about a woman, I think she was betrothed to this king, and then she runs away and she's like banished to this island, and she's a siren, and then these 2 guys come to bring her back, and they're like, hey, you're gonna be actually betrothed to the king. And she's like, no. And there's like some weird curse going on, and then she realizes one of the guys that takes her is actually the king she's supposed to marry. So it was fine. It was fine. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, I don't normally put books down and not pick them back up for a while, so I wasn't really invested in it at all, and I just wanted some more fae romance, and this didn't really give me what I wanted, so 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I picked up on audio is British Bedmate by Highland and Penelope Ward. This one is originally called Dear Bridget, I Want You, which I believe I own in paperback somewhere, but this one is about a doctor and a nurse, and so she ends up meeting him because of an unfortunate accident that happened in the beginning. Then he ends up renting out one of her rooms because his friend is her friend, I think, and he ends up working at her hospital, and it's their romance. And she has a son, and it was really, really sweet. I liked him and how he got close to her son, and it was fun how they worked together, but he doesn't know really what he wants. He wants to go back to, he's British, so he wants to go back to England when he's out with his residency, but then he's like, I'm leaving, do I start something? I don't know. And so I liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the hospital setting and how adorable he was with her son, and it was just a really sweet romance. The next few books I picked up for my reading BookTube's favorite fantasy books, and so the first one is my favorite book of the month because it was just amazing, and that is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is a fantasy, super long, 800 pages, and our main character is trying to uncover a secret about something. I don't want to spoil anything. She's half fae, half human, and the guy that ends up helping her to solve this mystery is actually an angel, and they have a romance that is super, super, super slow burn, and I loved it, and there were so many twists and turns at the end. It was amazing. Go in blind. I didn't even know what this book was about when I went in, and I ended up loving it, so do that. Know the first 50 pages are really info dumpy and slow, but the rest is amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. Then I listened to the audio of Sparrow by L.J. Shen. This is a mafia romance, and our main character is betrothed to this guy, and they end up getting married, and they're living together, and she's kind of terrified of him and will do anything not to have to be intimate with him, and then she kind of learns to trust him, but then she kind of started liking this other guy that she works with, and she's trying to live a life for herself. Things happen. There are some things that happen at the end that like really got interesting, so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. it. I did like the mafia aspect, and I like books where like they have to get married and they don't really like them and they're kind of scared of them, but then they realize they're just like normal guys who just happen to be in the mafia. And so it was really fun. I liked it. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Fury Born by Claire Legrand. This is a fantasy. We follow 2 different characters, and there's a prophecy about these 2 queens, the Blood Queen and like the Light Queen or something. I don't remember. Sun Queen. So the Blood Queen and the Sun Queen. So we have these 2 characters in 2 different storylines about how they have these really extreme powers, and the one has to prove that she can control her powers, and the other one's trying to figure out stuff, and she's an assassin. So this was okay. I liked one storyline. I liked the assassin storyline a lot better than the other woman storyline. I should have caught on how are they connected, but I didn't until the end, but it was fine. I gave it 3 to 5 stars. I was just like kind of reading, and I didn't really care too much about what was happening. I did enjoy the end though. So that was something. Then I ended up picking up A Number in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This one is a fantasy, and it is a very dark fantasy. Lots of bad things happen and people die, but our main character's brother gets kidnapped because he was working with the rebels, and so she decides to ask the rebels for help to get him out, and they ask her to be the servant of the lead awful woman in charge of training the deadly like police force in this community. And the last one threw herself off a cliff, so she decides to do it to try to find some secrets. And then we are also following a guy who is actually that leader's son, and he is one of the people that are in this like training program, and he actually doesn't like it, and so we follow their 2 storylines. So good. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I love the characters. I love the action. I love the suspense that was happening. The ending was crazy, and I cannot wait to pick up book 2. I just ordered book 3. And I don't know why it took so long to read this series, but I loved it. Then I listened to the audio of Fractured Love by Ella James. This is like book 3 in this series, but it was the highest rated, so I decided to listen to it. And it's about a girl and a guy who meet because he ends up being her new foster brother. They thought they were getting like a 6-year-old, and it was actually a 16-year-old. And they meet at school, and they end up falling in love, and then are ripped apart because their parents find out. And then we flash forward to when they are like 10 years later, and they're actually both residents at the same hospital. And this was okay. I feel like I would have liked it better if it was either just the first half or the second half. I feel like I enjoy the first half a lot when they were falling in love and it was forbidden because they were foster siblings. And then I did enjoy the second half when they were reunited, but I feel like it was just kind of disjointed. I don't know. I just feel like I didn't really enjoy it as much as I should have. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I think I enjoyed the beginning better than the ending, so I would have liked a full book of that instead of there being a huge gap and then be reunited. So it was fine. It was like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I just couldn't give it a full 4 stars. And the last book I read, of course, is another giant fantasy, and that was Missborne by Brandon Sanderson. I cannot believe I read this, and I actually enjoyed it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars, a high 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the ending and pretty much the second half of the book. The first like half, I was like, okay, this is interesting, but there was nothing like driving me to read, and I didn't like have to know what would happen next. But then the last like 150 pages, I was like, oh my god, what's happening, what's happening? And our main character, Vin, she is a kind of like a street thief, and then they realize that she's actually a Missborne, so she can use metal magic and use all of them, because most people can only use a few or like one type of them. And she's being trained by another Missborne and kind of gets pulled into this group of thieves who are putting on a heist to overthrow the final empire. So it was really, really, really good. I liked how it had a good conclusion, but we still had room for another book, and we knew there was going to be another book for a specific reason, but I didn't feel like it was cliffhangery to try to get us to pick up the next book. So I really enjoyed it. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed it. I probably won't be picking up the next book soon because I read like 4 fantasies that were giant in a row, and I read so many books that were giant this month. I need a break, but I'm glad I picked it up. And that's my March wrap up. Thank you so much if you stuck around. I know this is really long and I read a lot of books, but let me know down below what you read and what you love this month, or what I read that you're excited to see me read, or if you had differing opinions, let me know. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.